So we had the Naira Bets Haskell on Saturday. John and I spent all last week basically waxing poetic about Monmouth Park and how much fun it is and how you're missing out if you don't go down there. And lo and behold, they had super attendance, the highest since 2015. We're not going to take all the credit, but Monmouth had 41,876 people through the gates on Saturday. Helped that it was a beautiful day. Helped that you had some star power, I'm sure, with journalism. And journalism did it again. Just ran down Gosger and goal-oriented in the shadow of the wire. Man, I always think about this quote from Richie Migliore. He was talking about like Joel Rosario on turf sprinters and how he's always such a dangerous closer. And he was like, when you're on the lead and Joel's behind you, you might as well be hearing the Jaws theme get louder and louder and louder as he starts to reel you in. And I think about that with journalism just because like he just keeps coming and coming and coming. And I think you got to be so sick if you're a Gosker fan or better or owner or trainer or whatever, that this was just such a carbon copy to me of the Preakness. The only difference was that goal-oriented was close as well and also ran a big race. But man, people want to say that like journalism was ducking the big horses in the Jim Dandy. This is a grade 1. You don't duck a grade 2 and then go to a grade 1 and then win the race. He obviously is a superstar, and we're very lucky to have him and Sovereignty at this 3-year-old and at the top of this 3-year-old class. Sam, what were your impressions from the Haskell?
Well, you have to give like a golf clap to his connections first off, because the fact that he's shown up to every single major 3-year-old race, there's something to be said for that. And I think that a lot of people, there was some discourse, well, he just ran down Gosler. He just ran down goal-oriented. Well, who else is there to run down? I think that you can't take anything away from him. He's shipped coast to coast and back and forth all within the span of the last 5 months, and he's still able to do that. And it's not like he broke perfect either. He was very flat-footed out of there. But I think in watching that race and kind of just the carbon copy, like you said, a little less eventful Preakness, I think if journalism has a horse to run down in front of him, he doesn't lose. The 2 times he's lost to Sovereignty, he's made the first move on Sovereignty, and he gets out there and then Sovereignty runs him down. I bet that there's going to be some different tactics the next time that they match up. I would love to see him run down Sovereignty.
Yeah, and like you said, who are they ducking? The only horse you could say that the biggest horse that you could say is in this race is Sovereignty. Obviously, you got a couple other nice horses, including Sandman, the Jim Dandy, which we'll get to. But this is a grade 1. He shipped across the country. He had to run hard throughout the entire stretch. It's not like this was like some public workout where he was 1-5 and all he had to do was not fall down. He had to go and win that race, and he keeps doing it. And like you said, I think it's so important, like in an era of horses who just don't run enough, frankly, for a horse like this who shows up, dances every dance. So I'll pose this question to you, Sam. Like, this is an interesting debate now between whether or not he comes back and tries Sovereignty again for a 3rd time in the Travers, assuming he ends up there, or do you stay home and you take on Elders in the Pacific Classic? Obviously, we don't know what that field is going to look like. I think a lot of it depends on how Nysos runs this Saturday in the San Diego. But if you put you in charge, Sam, he's your sole property and sole purpose in this world. What do you do with journalism next?
I would go to Travers. I would. I think that there's something to be said about staying in your own backyard, but taking on older horses when you don't have to, even if he might. I mean, there's so many unknowns, and yeah, there could be some deflections from the race or defections from the race where we don't get to see Nysos or et cetera, et cetera. But I bet they'll just keep an eye on that. But I'd like to stay with 3-year-olds at least while you can.
I think it's I honestly would go the other way just because I think the goal should be at this point to win an Eclipse Award.
Yeah.
And considering that he's 0-2 head-to-head against Sovereignty, and if he stays home and wins the Pacific Classic, now he's got a grade 1 win against Elders, which Sovereignty does not have. And then just in general, like I'm one of the remarkable things about journalism beyond the fact that he shows up every single race is how well he takes shipping. Yeah. Because he's gone back and forth and just hasn't seemed to take anything out of him. I just wonder how many times you want to squeeze that lemon, because now he goes all the way back to Santa Anita, going to have to ship again to go to the Travers. I would stay home and run the Pacific Classic just because I don't know that there's going to be any monsters there. But it's an interesting debate.
Like he's still so unbattle tested, I feel like, then that's a good point. And I think that they'll continue to monitor that. But it's not like in the past few months I've seen any killers from California that are old in the older division, at least.
Yeah, and journalism does not, for all of his experience out west, he does not have a ton of experience at Del Mar. He had the two races last summer, but now also you get a chance to have a race over the track that the Breeders' Cup Classic is going to be on. So if you run well in the Pacific Classic, maybe you got a little bit of home court advantage when Sovereignty and the other 3-year-olds come west for the Breeders' Cup. But it's an interesting debate, and I just love how sporting that they've been with journalism, and I don't want to hear any nonsense about how they were ducking anybody. They shipped all the way across the country to run in a $1 million grade one with some real horses in it. And I thought it was he is, and it was a really hard nosed effort. And I just want to give a hat tip to Monmouth. Sam, have you ever been to Monmouth?
Have I ever been to Monmouth? Is that a real question?
What, were you born there or something?
That was my first on air gig.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, yeah. I remember that now.
It was me and Brad Thomas. And yeah, it was amazing. That's where I cut my teeth. They took a shot on me when I had no experience at all. And they put up with me. God bless them. And I was there for 2 years, 2 seasons, 2 years.
Damn, I got to read Sam's Wikipedia page again before I have her on the show again next time. So yeah, I'm curious, like what you think, because this was the 3rd straight year of significant attendance increase. 2 years ago, they had a little over 35,000. Last year, they had 38,976. This year, they had 41,876, which, as I mentioned, was the highest attendance total since American Pharoah ran in the Haskell in 2015, which is obviously an outlier. The handle was good. It was just under 20, like a few dollars under 22 million, which was higher than last year's total. 2.1 million was wagered on track at Monmouth. Sam, it's a very, very unique place and a special place. What are some of the things that you think still bring people to the track at Monmouth in a way that they don't really go to the track at a lot of other places?
I think that it's just the atmosphere of like spending the summer on the shore, and they've really just branded that. And also it's a luxury, right? In the summertime, it's not something that you can go to all the time. Whereas tracks that run year round, they're always there. And I think it kind of can sometimes lose its glamour a little bit. And just everybody knows it's around the same weekend every single year, like clockwork there at the Jersey Shore. And they do a good job, Monmouth does, at the festivals that they bring to. And yeah, they may not be like getting there might be more $2 bettors than big handicappers, or big gamblers, but at least it's something. They're bringing people through the door. And I think as a racing community, yes, it's so important. We need people to be gambling and wagering, but we need more fans of the sport. And I feel like Monmouth does a very good job at just bringing the heart and soul into the racing side of it.
And a lot of young people too. I was there for Haskell Day last year. There was a lot of people in their 20s dressed to the nines. And it's like, this is the lightning in a bottle that we need to capture and duplicate across the country. So yeah, shout out to everybody at Monmouth. We had John Himes on the show last week. Shout out to him and Dennis Drazen and the whole crew at Monmouth, because they do an unbelievable job. And it's good to see them rewarded with a big day of racing, a tremendous renewal of the Haskell, and great business on the betting side. So shout out to the team at Monmouth Park. Looking forward already to next year's Haskell.